It was a pretty interesting case study, I guess. So since I have to picture some of these questions and how I feel like which one should be the best that we can talk about. So let's just get a quick brief of the story of Barbara Norris. If you guys remember, so she obviously is a mom, and she starts basically not at the bottom, but I mean her ultimate goal when she was growing up was to be like her mom and her I think it was a grandma, to be a nurse. It's obviously when she did grow up, she became a nurse and everything, and she had kids, and then just the real, I guess, hierarchy of the story was she got promoted, or she applied to be one of the leaders at the hospital, and she got the position, and then all of a sudden all this stuff just came crashing on her. So that's kind of just where we have to discuss right now what's going on. So I guess the first question we could answer all together is, what are the root problems Barbara Norris is facing currently?
So for me, like I found this to be an extremely interesting article. Working at the hospital, not necessarily as a medical staff, but just as ancillary support staff, like you can actually see a lot of these issues depending on the unit. You can see them when they're actually issues, and you can see when the lack thereof of these issues, and kind of the difference in between the employees, the unit's reputation, the patients from the unit, the number of calls that we get as security. So I thought it was really interesting to kind of read it from the medical staff point of view. So I took four different root problems, and I'll just share one of them, and then we can kind of go around. And if there's any that you guys don't mention, I can mention the other ones I had. The first one I took, which was kind of the most important to me, was a lack of a positive culture in the unit. It seemed that most people in the unit are very much for themselves. It's very much a me, like, everybody looking out for themselves. There's very little, if any, collaboration among the staff members. People aren't working together to get tests done. They don't take time to teach one another, primarily the older people versus the newer grads and the newer nurses. They don't really seem to enjoy their coworkers. The culture is very hostile, and it doesn't make their staff members excited to go to work every day. And that's really important, especially the working together. Like I've been in obviously I've been on hospital security for almost 4.5 years now. And when you have a situation, especially an emergency situation or a patient who's declining rapidly, like it can't be done by one person. You have to be able to work together, and you have to be able to trust your team. And so if you have a unit where people don't want to work together and they don't care about each other, that's definitely going to negatively impact the patients that you're caring for, the family members that are witnessing that, ancillary staff who has to deal with that. It's going to affect your scores. It's going to affect a lot of things. So I think that was the biggest root problem that I took away, is just the lack of a positive culture.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I work in a hospital environment too. So I think I agree with what Ryan said, and I think that there is a lot of negativity there, and people has not been evaluated in their roles either for quite a while. So I think that sometimes when there are problems in groups or organizations, you have to work probably in small group of people and like a team. This was like, I know there were not the 29 people right there in the meeting that they had with Barbara, but usually when you have problems like that, she went for more than what she bargained for. I mean, she was impacted when she saw, she heard all these people talking about this and this and attacking each other and complaining. And I think one of the roots of the problems that I put there, it was the lack of oh, let me remember. Well, I have the lack of leadership skills, because as a leader, I don't think you will meet all these people if you know. She already knew it was a very tough environment. She already knew the challenges. She knew what she was going to. She didn't know it was that hard, but she was warned by Betty, I think is her name, or Betty. She kind of told her that wasn't a good idea to go into that position. I think that she didn't have the experience, and with experience, I mean the knowledge as well. So she shouldn't. I wouldn't have met all the people in one room. Mm-hmm. I think I would have put that box with questions outside of my office, and I will have just go ahead and resolve those issues and come up with solutions. Even when it got to a point when she asked them, so what do you think? What do you think the solutions are? I agree that it's important to make people participate and give opinions and ideas, but you should have a backup plan. You should be prepared with your own solutions as a leader.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. She has a lack of a leadership experience. And I think that was, I mean, they left the room and she stayed working with the list. It was a waste of time. It was past the time. It was 1.5 hours they were still talking. If after 1.5 hours people complain and you ask for a solution, how long is it going to take to agree for people that don't even get along with each other to get a solution in that team meeting? Forever. And they didn't even know. They come to the leader because the leader comes up with the solutions. They are troubled with their problems. They're not thinking about the solution. You're just presenting the problem, and they're waiting for someone to lead them to a solution. So I thought it was a waste of time, that meeting. I thought that she should have had, like I said before, the box outside of her office, get all the complaints, try to work. If she would have had the experience, maybe met with Becky, because she was a manager in that area, and they really liked her in the past when she worked, and gave that someone experience to give her advice about how to solve some problems. And the other thing that I noticed that she also had a problem was with what is this called? Solving, making decision, like I forgot how you call that. I work with that all the time. Making a decision, she did solving problems. She didn't have that skill either. You can tell through the meeting. So she would have had the box, go through that with Betty, come up with some solutions. The media team say, okay, I got some complaints. There are someone that are really important that we need to discuss, and we're gonna go with the number one. And then people can jump in, have a couple minutes, discuss it, and then ask them, how do you think we can solve this? I have some solutions on my own, but what do you think? What do you think do you have a solution? I will present mine. I have a couple. So you can present a couple, and then the team can say, I agree with that. Or, but small people, not a lot of people. So that's what I put: lack of leadership skill and problem solving skills.
So I just have a question. So are you saying she has a lack of leadership skills?
She didn't have experience. She was 6 months only there before she became a manager. She applied for a managing position with 6 months. She was a nurse. She has a knowledge of a nurse. She worked there for a while, but in management, she didn't have any. She didn't have any training. She didn't know how to lead, how to face problems with a large group of people in a time that was not only difficult for the people to get along, but it was an economical crisis. And all that together, it was a major problem. So she was just going to this meeting like, oh, I'm going to ask them, and she didn't know. It was like a bomb. So,
looking at it, is it Barbara's fault then, or is it John's fault who hired her, who said, yeah, we'll take you on?
I think, yeah.
If you remember right, when she accepted the job, the director, John, he said, hey, congratulations for this. You're doing the right thing. And then Barbara Norris, she then kind of stood back and she's like, what am I doing? Am I actually ready for this, to take this on? And she questioned her own self to see if she was ready for it too. So I guess at that moment she could have backed out, I guess, and had somebody else do it. Because we don't have a backstory for her, like her real, if she had any leadership, like in the back history of her or anything. It didn't mention anything. But it's a great opportunity for her to have to learn from this, because from going forward she'll be able to know that now and be able to progress just for later on and everything. I have to agree. Having a group and then having people write down things it can get kind of awkward, because you're just like, do I really want to share what I'm gonna put? Because obviously you're not gonna know who said it, but you're gonna have that thought of oh, that was probably that person and everything. But the box is a great idea. I didn't think about that, because that it's more of no one's gonna know that if it's you or whatnot, because it's gonna be totally random and everything. But yeah, I kind of do agree. She does lack kind of what's the word, of leadership, yeah, of just how to handle things as a leader, or as a manager and everything. But I just felt like, yeah, in the case study, it was just kind of missing some parts for me to really get a good understanding of her. It just kind of gives her just how she got to where she was, from being a not nurse to becoming a nurse and everything. So
I think that the box, I think the box, it was like you said, it's a good idea. But the box in the meeting, wouldn't that save time to have the box outside her office for 1 week and people can just drop thoughts, ideas? I think
yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. It took 1 hour and a half. And the other thing is that yes, she had experience as a nurse, but there were a lot of problems going on. And to face problem, you had to have problem solving skills. You had to
yeah,
have leadership skill, how to manage and control the situation, right? Because that was the first meeting that she had with her staff. So when they see you as a leader, they have to see you as someone who is someone solid, someone who knows where she's going, someone who gives you advice. Like like Catherine in the book that we're reading. She kind of know her stuff. That's the big difference, and that can impact the team. Like, oh my gosh, the kind of leader we have, she doesn't even know. She's asking us for a solution. I
but
better go.
do you think that John should have stepped in or something at all? Because I mean, like he knew like Bart, he was hiring her to take the position, and like obviously he must have known that she didn't have too much leadership skills, and so I feel like he's kind of just like leaving her a dust, like, hey, good luck, you know.
I think when he said good luck, he implied right there, this is a difficult job. I'm glad you're taking it.
Yeah.
So it didn't mean expect, come to me and I will be helping you, coaching you. No, you're taking it, you're willing to do it. Great, somebody's taking it.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
So interestingly enough, I disagree with both of you. And let me show. It's not like I'm just disagreeing, but like I don't think the problems we've seen so far are necessarily her fault. I think the problems that we see are a result of past leadership not doing an adequate job with the unit. And so I think within the past leadership, there was a lot of people who they kind of felt favoritism. They didn't really feel valued by the leadership. They lost their productivity. They began to harbor resentment towards other employees, especially those getting preferential treatment. They didn't feel like they were being given input on decisions or any of this. And I think what she did that was really important was she went into the role and she said, okay, I can't. And so here's my thing. Here's my personal backstory. So the hospital that I've been at right now, I've been there for about 2.5 years. And in the 2.5 years, I've had 3 directors and 4 managers over our department through just some various different changes and stuff that they made and kind of some reorganization and some stuff like that. So every time I've had a couple of different experiences. And so I've had a couple of experiences where guys come in and they say, hey, this is how we're going to do things. This is the changes we're going to make. And this is kind of how it's going to be from now on. And then I've had a couple of guys that have come in and they kind of do this similar thing that she did, not necessarily exactly writing it down, but they come in and they say, hey, what are your guys' ideas? I want you as the people actually working here in the department. You guys identify the problems. You guys identify the challenges. And whether they do it in a big meeting or a one-to-one and then have a staff meeting, they kind of handle it that way, just kind of similarly to how she did. And looking at the contrast differences in the 2 responses from the department, I would say that there's definitely a little bit more support and willingness to give time to the managers coming in that seek to understand versus seek to being understood. Because you have these managers that come and they say, okay, well, I've heard this and this, so these are the problems, these are the changes that we're going to make, this is how we're going to do things. They come in to throw out ideas, which is fine to a degree. The problem is they don't understand the specific unit or department that they're working with and what are the specific challenges that they're facing and the kind of the different personalities of those people. Whereas you have the other guys that take the time to really understand what's going on and then they make the changes. So I think the part that we're at right now with this case is that she's kind of come in, talks about how she met with some people, she got some feedback, she heard about the problems. Then she had this one-to-one to get everybody together, get everything kind of out in the open, and she's identified all these problems. I don't think she's made any decisions yet to problem solve because she's still in the part of trying to find out what the problems are. And I think if she would have come into the unit and said, okay, well, I've heard this, and this about you guys, because of the leadership that's been there in the past, I think a lot of her employees would have tuned her out. because, you know, a lot of employees, as you kind of read this, they're used to not being heard, right? They're used to not having any input in the decisions. They're used to just having leaders come in and tell them what to do. And I think with her, she's coming in and getting the employees to kind of buy into the program. And so I don't think it's necessarily a matter that she's not a good leader, that she doesn't have the problem solving skills, but I think she's in this trying to get people on the same page for everybody to really understand what's going wrong. And I think that's where the point that we're at. You know, it took an hour and a half, but I've been in some staff meetings before where people complain and this person says this thing and then it builds onto this. And you know, you could have an hour meeting go 2, 3, 4 hours. Not that I've actually had them go that long because we usually have other stuff to do, but it's possible. So I don't think necessarily that it going overtime is necessarily a problem, but I do think that she's done a good job so far of actually identifying what the challenges are now, and that she hasn't necessarily been given time to actually problem solve and present solutions to the different challenges. I think that's kind of where we were supposed to come in and write in the case study, like, what would you do if you're in her place?
Yeah.
So those are just kind of my thoughts. Is I don't necessarily think that it's her necessarily not being a bad leader or her not being prepared, but it's her kind of style, if you will, to come in and instead of saying, hey, I'm in charge, this is how we're going to do things. She's coming in and saying, okay, I'm in charge, but what's your guys' opinion of what's not working? What can I do for you guys to make your jobs better? Like, what do you guys feel like are the problems?
Yeah,
I see your point, Ryan, and I kind of agree with you. I understand where you're coming from. Probably the reason why I was seeing that way, because usually when we evaluate case studies, we see the issues, and I think one of the main issues is actually the culture. That's why we have an article to read from. It's about the motivation, you know, and the different aspects to motivation. I think that's one of the biggest keys or issues on the case. However, since we had to mention another aspect to it, I was just looking because, like I said, like you said very well, you have experience in your environment with meetings, and that's what happened. I have my own experience in meetings, and it happens things differently. And I think that you said, Ryan, or Jacob said, the style. It's just the style leadership. I think that's a good point. It's a style. The style that she has is different. To me, I was just looking immediately right away from management, like, okay, she's not gonna impress them because she doesn't really know. But I see your point, and I validate that. I appreciate that. I think that's true. I think that she started well, asking them. I think that there is nothing wrong with that. You should ask people in order to be able to figure things out. So I agree with that.
So it's okay. So here's a question. So how do you guys think? Because we've kind of taken two different, I don't want to say two different sides, but like, it sounds more like you'd be on the side of her saying, okay, it's been an hour. I said we are going to be an hour. Meeting's over. We'll whatever. Where the meeting kind of ran over an hour and a half, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. What do you guys think the employee's response would have been if they were sitting here and sharing their opinions, and she would have cut it off after an hour? Like, do you guys think that would have been taken negatively, or like some people would have said, hey, she's being a good leader?
I'm gonna let Jacob respond that because he has to say something.
I think the way it was going on in the story, like, I mean, they were obviously telling what they felt and everything, and if they felt they were cut off, they'd be like, I didn't finish it, you know. So I think it would have kept going on, but I mean, there is always that point where you have to draw the line, like, all right, we're done. We're gonna resolve this later on if you have to. It just depends on what the atmosphere you feel. If you feel like it's time to do it, do it. But like that's only you only know that if you're actually there, you know.
Yeah, what I mean to say is that what I said before, and I don't want to go over that too much, but it's not what she did was wrong. It's just the way she did it. I think that it will have saved more time if she would have come up more prepared. That's it. That's what I was addressing. Probably was a leadership experience, stuff like that. What she did was no bad. It was good that she asked the stuff. It was good that people expressed how they feel. But what happened when you're in an environment like that and people are bumping heads in a group, facing it before management, it usually leaves more resentment in the environment. The air can get very dense.
Yeah.
You go back to work, but it's more dense. So usually these kind of issues you address in one is like in a small group of people, and you ask them, you know, or maybe individually you meet them. You just get that box outside your office. People complain, and if you don't have too many members, you can meet by individual, one by one. I have a couple complaints here. What do you think about this? So you get an impression because people feel, I mean, you go back to work after that discussion. I don't know. That was my point before when I said about the lack. But I think that what she did was good, but I would have used a different way to do it.
Okay. So we basically answered the next two questions. The next question was, how well has Barbara done for her first month as a nurse manager at the hospital at GCU? Was she a good choice for the position? We kind of answered that already. And then the next one is, what changes is she trying to make and why? And we already know, but she's trying to make everything's right and understand people, what they want and everything. So this next question will be good right now for us. What are three obstacles to affecting change Norris should anticipate, and how should she address them?
I think there here we are probably jumping into the motivation thing and about the four aspect and the drive and the primary lever. I think the reward system. Some people, if you remember from the paper, the case, some people were quitting their jobs. They wanna. If you have employees quitting their job because they're unsatisfied, not only because of the environment and the economy, the salary is not good, and they work extra hours. The story just began with Barbara staying working late. She, as a manager, she was doing her part. She was not feeling like the boss. She was being a leader. She was working overtime and doing everything to cover the shift. So I think that the reward system is one of those, which is the acquire, and going back to the culture, which is the bond, trying to get people to bond, go in the same direction. So I think that was one of the challenges, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest obstacles is just going to be employee buy-in. I think they're used to not being heard, used to not feeling like their opinions matter, used to kind of things being done however the leader wants them. And so I think if she's able to kind of get the employees involved and understand, like, hey, this is your guys' department, like, we're going to make changes to make your jobs easier. I think it'd be easier for them. And like, we're kind of going through that right now. They're making a lot of changes in where we're at, and like making us integrate with other hospitals and stuff. And there's been a lot of negativity, but at the same time, there's been a couple of days where it's like, hey, we need extra help, or we need this or that. And we've been able to pull resources from the other hospital instead of just providing the resources. And so I think we've kind of been able to kind of see the benefit to it. And so I think if she can get and so it makes it a little easier next time that they call for help to send someone to help. We're a little more willing to go because we've experienced that same help. So I think if she's able to get the employees to kind of buy in and understand, like, hey, this is for you guys. This is for, it's for you. She'll be able to get the buy-in and be able to get it going. Because if she comes in and she just tries to make changes and she doesn't really have the support of the staff, it's just going to go away. It's just going to be a losing battle.
Yeah, I agree.
I have to agree. Yeah, I think the biggest obstacles, is just trying to win their trust and their, I guess just their trust that she's actually there to help them and not to make things worse. And obviously, like, changes, you can take change in a good way or a bad way because the other manager before her left and everything. So obviously there would be some changes and everything. Maybe they had their way that they were doing things already, or there obviously was things that they didn't like. But it's good that Norris is taking that step to try to make things better. So at the workplace, it's more, I guess, not fun, but at least you will be doing your job and you'll be enjoying it, other than not like being like, oh, I don't want to be here, this sucks, or anything. Like, for example, at my work at the bank, for customer service, we have a thing called KDS. It's called Know Your Customer, or something like that. And so every month we have 8, we call them shops, I guess. We're like, our back office will give the customers a call after we did a transaction or after we helped them. And our back office will ask them, like, hey, how did Jacob do? Did he treat you with respect, or did he make you feel special? Did he make your time feel valuable and everything? And they score us. They score us between 1 to 5. So obviously 5's the best, 1's the worst. If you get all fives, you get a star. Um, if you get all fives and 1 4, that's not a star, so you don't get it. If you get all fives, you cannot get a star sometimes too if they don't say you get a star, I guess, or whatnot. And so that thing we have, like our manager, he's new to the branch, and so like I had my way of how I did things, of how I run, how I like KDS and everything, and he had his ways and everything. So when he introduced me to his way, I was kind of fighting with him. Was like, that's not how we do it and everything. But I mean, you have to compromise. I mean, you have to. You're not always going to get your way to that's the way you want things at the workplace, and that's why I think she's just trying to find a way to understand all the employees of what they want and everything, and then she's going to sit down, look at all the results and everything, and find out what she can do so everyone's at least, I guess, comfortable or just feel like they're wanted, like they're important to be at work, you know.
I agree with you, Jacob. I think that they are short-staffed, they are under stress. It says also that the employee morale is very low. So they're working under a lot of pressure, a lot of work. Financially, it's not very well rewarded. So they need to find something that motivates them, make them stay in their job and fight for it.
So I remember, I don't know if it was a question or something, but in my essay that I wrote for the homework, I think people mentioned saying, do you think that hiring more people on board would help the situation for less workload and everything? And my answer to that, for hiring more people, trying to get permission to unlock that freeze of hiring status, I think that would cause more tension because, I mean, when you hire somebody new, I mean, you have to get to know the person and trust them and everything, and you'll find out if they're a good worker or a bad worker. So at that time, I thought I would say no. Don't try to get more people to hire to get your team to work right now, like together as a team. Because if you can get that first and hire people, you already have a team that looks good. That new employee gets hired on later on, at least the team can show them how like things are done at the workplace and how to get things done. What do you guys think about that? About hiring someone or not?
I think you make a really interesting point that it would really be nice to have the culture in place within the department where it wasn't such a tough environment to work and to teach new people, but at the same time, I really think a lot of their issues have to do with just the people being overstressed and overworked. And it depends. I'm trying to remember. Did it say what kind of unit this was? Yeah, general surgery. So
Surgery.
like those places can be extremely busy. The hospital that I work at, we have a smaller surgery department, but we can do 50 to 60 cases a day. And when we go up there to do something, whether it's take family or if it's somebody that's having some issues or whatever, those people don't seem to stop. And nurses in general, I don't feel like seem to stop. They rarely get breaks. They're very overworked. They're very devoted to their jobs that they're there. So I definitely think, well, I could see where you're coming from, Jacob, with the wanting to get the culture fixed. I do think it would be important to get some help in there for them as well. Maybe it's only a few people to kind of get things to slow down a little bit, and maybe that would help the culture. But I don't think putting that off long term would be the best idea.
No, I think they will face a challenge with that. I think it's a great idea. They do need help, and this is a challenge that I think they will face. When you hire nurses, like in this particular case, there was a lot of argument between the nurses that are more experienced with the newer ones. They complain about the newer ones that they didn't know their job. So they argue about it. The newer ones complain that they were put down all the time. So then you come up like, okay, they need help. Probably should hire new nurses, and they should be probably more experienced. But here's the financial problem. You have someone who's more experienced, you have to pay more. And they're going through a financial crisis. And you hire someone right out of the school, the older nurse is going to say, we have enough with the new ones making mistakes. We don't need more new people we don't have time to be coaching. We're too busy. We're understaffed. So I think it's a real challenge. I think they need help, but I think it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, 3 more months of discussing, and in the last 20 minutes, we have to create an action plan for her. So do you guys have any more comments on anything, or do you want to go into the action plan right now?
I just think that it's important. It's important that this meeting show up the problems that they have, like Ryan said, and I realized that this is something that has been holding on to for a while. That's why there is so much trouble in the staff, and there are so many things that has to be met, like engagement. They have to be. I mean, they are engaged, but they are stressed. They're not happy. They are not satisfied with what they're doing on the way they are being treated. There's still commitment, they're still doing their job, but they're not with a very good attitude. So those are the areas that I think they need to work. Hi, Logan.
Hi, I got it to work now.
Good. You got to the best part, to the real meat part of the discussion now.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're about to start the action plan. So let's just go ahead and go around, because we have to do our own action plans and our essays and everything. Ryan, do you want to start with your action plan of what you put down to what would help be a solution to Norris?
You want my whole thing or just?
I guess just like summarize it so we don't take half an hour. Let's just do this in 20 minutes. No.
All right, so I put the first step that I think would be huge in changing the culture. She already did, and that's working towards creating a one-on-one relationship with each member of her staff, where they can feel heard and validated. It talks about the case. As soon as she took over the position, she got 29 of the unit staff members requesting for one-on-one meetings, and she met with them, and she kind of got a lot of their complaints and stuff out. So I think her being able to build those relationships with each people, so each person feels like they have a personal relationship with management, it's going to be huge. And then when she does that, when she has those meetings, when she has those interactions, she can work on making the changes subtly. I think one of the first changes I would implement is getting additional training for each staff. It would help reduce the request of newer employees on the more seasoned ones, giving them more confidence in their abilities, and it would also help the more seasoned ones to have reduced wear on them from all the newer employees always asking them questions. I'm not saying that they're not necessarily trained, but there are some specific, like if there's a specific thing that it seems like they're always getting asked questions about, maybe they could have some sort of a training about that to kind of get everybody on the same page. I think that would definitely help to kind of reduce some of that bickering back and forth of, well, hey, we're so busy, we don't have time to answer your questions, and oh, well, the old people are so grumpy, they don't have time, like they're not helpful at all. They can kind of all be in the same playing field. Another recommendation I have is to have regular, which I interpreted to be monthly initially, and then probably change to quarterly department meetings. Have them on different days of the week and different times so that all staff members can rotate attending, because they can't just pull everybody off the floor at the same time. But it would allow staff members to be really informed on the different issues going in within the department. They can address and they can have a voice on decisions that are coming up and overall build relationships with each other. This way, nobody really feels like, hey, I don't know what's going on, or hey, they're making all these decisions without me. I don't have an input. It would allow everybody to kind of get some say in the department. And then the third one, I think, is really for her is to look for opportunities to prove that she has the unit's best interests in her heart and mind. I know that kind of sounds like a really broad suggestion, but I don't feel like they've had leadership that seems to care about the unit. It seems like a lot of people in the past come in and say, well, hey, this unit's hard to deal with. We're not going to be able to get anywhere with them. They've always had problems. And so they kind of just write it off and they do their own thing. But I think if she's really able to show her employees that she cares and get them to care about each other, she'll be able to change the culture. And I think once you change the culture, a lot of the other issues they have will kind of take care of themselves. People won't mind helping each other out. When they get busy, they don't mind taking turns. They don't mind working together. They'll go off and they'll have those meals together. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest things for her is to, as they buy into her as a leader, they'll buy into the changes, and then they'll be able to change successfully.
I guess we're done.
We'll just use that.
Well, I would say I agree with everything that Ryan said, and I think that a couple of things that I have on my end is that I will start with quarterly performance goal reviews. I think it's important to evaluate every employee in the one-on-one, evaluate their performance, check their goals, and motivate them. Recognize what they're doing in different ways. Find ways to recognize it. It cannot be financially. It can be with different things like new roles, new things to learn, new projects to get involved that can give them more experience that can be added to their resume. So in the future, where they have a higher position, they can apply for that. So there are many ways to reward them. The other thing that I thought it would be good also is that when they evaluate the performance, they will evaluate the emotional drive of the employees. They also can make sure that they have a clear role, job design role. They have a specify that, because sometimes there is a lot of confusion when they think she doesn't know what she's doing. There was a lot of complaint about it. So I think they probably have to just make a reorganization of everything, make sure everyone is in the right place, doing the right thing, or if they need to learn or be coached, they will be trained for that, so they can they have the opportunity to learn and to bond as a team. The other thing that I thought it was important to, based on my first point, is that Barbara needs some coaching. She probably needs to sit with Betty Nolan, and because she's an experienced line manager and she has worked there before, so maybe she can coach in all the aspect of what leadership is required for that particular area. And she can be assessed. Barbara can be assessed quarterly. She can go to a seminar for leadership once a year, maybe twice a year, for new grads about leadership skills. Betty can help her presenting different scenarios about different problems she can face and practice and play with her to see how she will solve them in case she has other problems. The other thing I thought it was important also that emphasize the value of each employee when they have those evaluations, the one-on-one. Besides, they have the opportunity to discuss openly their concerns. They can have the opportunity to be valued and express them how important they are in the organization. That's what I think.
Thank you. What about you, Logan?
So I'll just kind of read through my write-up, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure what's already been discussed, but so I suggested to Barbara that there are several root causes to the apparent issues, and agreeing with Ryan, I put here, the hospital's reputation has been so poor among the workers for so long that it's no secret their culture has been completely compromised from the top to the bottom. The nursing director, being the top, he knows that something's going on and that something needs to happen. And then the new hires, they also they get warned, as we read through the thing, that people try to tell them not to come in. So everybody knows that it's not the greatest place to be. So I let her know that if they can't shift the company culture, then they're not going to be able to turn this thing around the way that everyone wants to. And that they also don't seem to have clear expectations for what the hospital or what the workplace ought to be like. Yeah. So I suggest here that the unit needs to have a vision and certain goals to get it to there.
And like that.
And then everybody needs to
be on board.
Shared with everybody, exactly. There definitely needs to be a leader. I don't think they need to have like a round table and everyone throw their ideas around. They're pretty desperate for one person to rise up and kind of say, hey, this is the vision, and then obviously still allow input and suggestions. But, yeah, otherwise, if there's not a leader in this situation to pull them through it, I really don't see how they're going to be able to. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I like what you said, Logan. I think it's very important when you mentioned expectations. Besides the goals, the expectations. I think that's really crucial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just go on to kind of, I say I commend you for initiating the seemingly awkward discussion that had to take place. That was a really good move, even though it was difficult. And ended up going over the time, but it was very well spent time that was overdue. Probably the most important staff meeting that they have had, or in quite a long time, because the team was finally starting to put their walls down and talk. And it's pretty evident that everyone, once the ice was broken, everyone wanted to be there. And I bet time was just flying. It was one of those, I don't know if you've had those experiences where when you start getting involved in something, the time just starts to fly by and you're like, wow, I wish we had more time for this. And I thought that was really cool of her to get that started. That was a good move. And just some more stuff, formalities in the letter, but that's the main part of my suggestion to Barbara Norris.
Great. Okay, I'll spend the last minute. So you guys might disagree with me, but in mine, I said with those notes that you received from all the complaints from the team members, I thought a good thing we should sit down and look and review them one by one and find out a solution for them. But I thought honestly it would be a good idea to get her boss involved. Was to get, what was his name? John, I think it was. Involved to bring these complaints to him. I'm not sure if it's in her area to do it or not, to do that or not, to go to him. But I think he should be aware of what's going on as well, so he can help coach her as well. I don't think it'd be fair to know what's going on, why things aren't successful and everything. I think he should at least know. But something that I think you said, Logan, was to have that vision to go on forward to after making solutions to these complaints and have that vision of how they can be a team and work together and be on board to work as a team and bring up their customer service and their what was the word, like the inside employees, or I guess whatever, to be a workplace and everything.
I agree with Jacob. I think that she has to let the director know, because when he challenged her, I mean, he congratulated her, but he asked her to turn around and do it fast. So he needs to be aware exactly of the main issues, and that it might take a while. It's not going to be that fast. So he would not have the expectation that because she's new and she's eager and she's willing and she's excited, you're going to get everything fixed in the next 3 months. It's going to take a while.
Okay, so the last 9 minutes here, let's go ahead and try to figure out 3 things that we can agree on that we can do. Obviously, we mentioned a couple of ideas of what we thought were good ideas, but let's just have 3 solid. Again. What do you guys think?
Go, Ryan.
Say it again. Sorry, you kind of broke up.
Sorry, like so for the action plan, let's just have 3 solutions she can have to help, or that we can help her get out of this mess, I guess.
Change the culture, build great relationships with their employees, and get them to buy in.
Okay. Do you agree with that, Logan and Veronica?
Yeah, I agree. I think that motivation is a big factor. I think that, not because it's part of the case, but I think it's a big factor. I mean, there is a lot of there's so many things triggering to lose motivation that we need to reinforce that back towards motivation. because when you're motivated, even if you don't have a good salary, you're happy with what you're doing and you do your very best. And if you do your very best, you have a good attitude, it's contagious. People around you will feel contagious about the week. We feel motivated to do things the same way. They will learn from you. New nurses will see someone older there, motivated and happy, and they will copy that behavior, and they will push in the same direction.
Yeah, I agree. Motivation and positivity definitely have like a well, like what you said, it wears off on people. Like people get the vibe of like, oh yeah, like he's positive, I'll be positive, and everything. And obviously, it goes the other way around. If people are negative, everyone's gonna be negative too. So yeah, I agree with Ryan. Like culture-wise, everyone needs to understand what goes into like the vision and everything. And then by buying in, you just you gotta find a way to get to their spot, I guess, push them and be able to work with one another. What about you, Logan?
You're cutting out there just a little bit again.
I guess I just agree with you guys, but what is your opinion? I guess.
Just that. I mean, I've kind of said. I think I've covered kind of what I feel on the situation, and that as something's got to happen, and everybody knows it. It's just a matter of getting the right person, which Barbara might be that person. So, yes, start turning it around. I don't want to repeat everything I already said. So, yeah, I think.
All right. Well, I guess do we have anything else that you guys want to discuss or anything? Or do you guys think we're good?
I think we're good.
So who's leading next week? Oh, we don't
There's
have.
no meeting
There's
next
no
week.
leader.
But the week
Yeah, you're
after
right.
that,
There's no
it'll be
leader.
Andrew.
Yeah, the other Lancer said there's no leading next week. So the following week, who's leading the following week?
Should be Andrew.
Andrew. Okay. Oh, we're close to the end.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we end with a prayer too. Is that right or no?
Nope.
Was that a yes?
What was the question? You're cutting out again.
Do we end with a prayer usually or no?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then everyone else have a good night. I'll go ahead and upload this to the minute and it'll go to the discussion board. So.
Sounds good.
All right, later, guys.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.